Hi, I'm Heather Lloyd.
Hi, I'm Kendall Taggart.
I'm Kellie.
And you're listening to the Real TO podcast, a show where we speak to leading women in real estate. We're back. How are you guys doing? Busy day?
Yeah.
We are like midweek, second week back in January, and it feels like it's been like a month already, I think. Like just everyone hit the ground running fast.
I can't believe it's only been like a week and a half.
I know.
Yeah.
It felt like January 5th was the day we came back and like things were happening. But I will say too, like it was busy over the holidays on the sales side.
Yeah.
Things were busy. Like we were doing offers on like Christmas Eve.
Yeah. It's kind of, I mean, we won't get overly excited, be cautiously optimistic, but it was nice. It was nice to see some of that activity for sure.
I mean, we'll take any wins.
We'll
these
take
days,
any
honestly.
wins.
So
yes,
For
exactly.
sure.
Good way to kind of kick off 2026 for sure.
Yeah.
So, and Kendall, you're busy with closings. We started closing a building as soon as we came back. We started into closing. So,
and it's going well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like people are responsive and they're closing and they're really enjoying like the building. They love the building. So yeah, it's great.
So let's keep fingers crossed on both fronts.
Hopefully it stays a little bit
Steady
smooth.
Eddie. Yeah,
So
exactly.
we're good.
And how about you, Heather?
Yeah. I mean, I'm right in between both of you guys.
Yeah,
So it's just hitting the ground running, lots of meetings, lots of preparation for 2026. And it's been busy. It's been good though. Yeah. So
I have good feelings about 2026.
I do too. Said that at the end of 2025. It's like, I feel optimistic. I feel like we know what we were getting. We know what we experienced in 2025. And now we just take that forward and figure out how to navigate this landscape. So, well, we have a pretty exciting guest on today. Kellie Speakman is joining us from JLL. She's got over 3 decades of experience in multi-family residential. So, and I know Kendall and I actually both worked with her at Daniels as well. So, so we're really excited to kind of get into a good conversation with her about what's happening on a pretty hot topic. Rental, of all things, is on everybody's mind, I think, was on everyone's mind 2025 and continues to be in 2026. So it'd be interesting to see what she has to say about her experience in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I always say it's going to be great. And I've noticed that that's like my line, but like I honestly think it's going to be great. I'm excited.
It is like the downfall of like hearing yourself over and over again. You pick up on all the things that you say and you're like, oh my gosh, I say that so often. Yeah.
Anyways, it's going to be great. I'm excited.
It's just your positive attitude, Kendall. Like it is just the positivity about you.
Yeah. Your great positivity.
Exactly.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, let's get into it. All right. Well, today we are chatting with Kellie Speakman. Hi, Kellie. How are you?
Hi. I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. I know it was a bit of a trek for you across the city today, so we appreciate you doing that. All right. So before we get started, I'm just going to let everybody know a little bit about you, just so they can get to know you a little bit more. Kellie, your career in multifamily spans over 3 decades, which is really impressive. But it all started with what I guess we could say is a fateful encounter with London Property Management Association, where you actually sold a membership to Boardwalk and were so impressed by how they operated that you were inspired to go work for them. So we're actually really excited to hear a little bit more about that. Today, you are the VP of Multifamily of JLL. Throughout your career, you've managed everything from high-stakes acquisitions to stabilized operations over hundreds of properties. In addition, you are a champion in the industry for talent through your Great Canadian Apartment Superstars and a leader on the board of the Rental Housing Canada Committee. So that's an amazing CV, and we're excited to kind of dive into a little bit more about this 3-decade-long career that you've had. I know you are somebody that everybody kind of knows in multifamily. I feel like you've been doing it for so long and everybody kind of knows what you do, where you've been. They go to you for advice. You're on this board. So maybe we can start with the fact that this was not the plan. This was not your intention. You didn't expect to get into multifamily when you started this journey in your career back in London so many years ago, or maybe not so many years ago. We shouldn't say that.
Well, it's true.
Maybe you can tell us kind of what it was about what inspired you to get into this industry. Tell us about your journey a little bit.
Well, thanks, Heather. Well, nobody 30 years ago, anybody who was in the industry, anyone you ask about being in rental housing, anyone that's been in the industry as long as I have typically will say, I fell into it. Right. And I think it's because 30 years ago, it wasn't the profession that it is now. For me personally, I was going to school to be a social worker. Right. And so, and then with that, I was working part-time as a student. I was working for the London Property Management Association, and I sold a membership to Boardwalk. And what inspired me was their people first attitude to how they ran their business. Right. And Sam Coleus, as an owner, runs his business with that family first love mentality. And so I want to work for them. But more so than that, I really loved the fact that housing is unlike any other service or job. There's a very social component to housing. Everybody needs a place to live. Right. And I found that I was able to connect that piece, that empathy piece, to what I do every day. And so I fell into it.
Did you just stop what you were doing and say, like, this is the group that I want to work for?
No, it wasn't that. I mean, obviously, when I started working at the London Property Management Association, I had my role when I was at LPMA was selling memberships to small landlords and essentially teaching them how to be good landlords. Right. And a big portion of my role was the sales piece, which was selling the memberships. And so essentially how I learned about Boardwalk was I read an article about them in Canadian Business Magazine. And I was really intrigued because this was over 30 years ago. And they were cutting edge in how they like to do things. You know, they were the first landlord to have a call center. They were the first landlord to have a virtual concierge in the lobby of the building. At that time, when I worked for them, we had Blackberries. Right. And, you know, they were the size of a book. Yeah. They were so big. But it was the first company that was really embracing customer service, that always on, that attitude of servitude. And I love that. And when I started working for them as a property manager, we took over these buildings, and their business model at the time was they would buy these distressed properties that were well located, and they would line up the trucks on the day that they closed, and they would reinvent these properties. That's exciting. And they had a really customer service focus. Yeah. And the one property that we took over, and this is what locked me into the industry, was we took it over close to the holidays, and the owner of the company and his family, his children, came down, and we delivered Christmas presents to all of the kids in the building. And it was in an area where there was a lot of poverty, and the residents didn't have a lot of money. And that just stuck with me. Yeah. That you could be really successful and run a company, but still treat people with care and love and respect.
These like grounded moments.
Yeah. And that I carried that with me my entire career.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's a great impression to have, like, to start your career off and like to hold that with you as you kind of move through things. So from there, where did you go? Take us along the journey. Where'd you go from there?
Yeah. So I was really fortunate. I had an opportunity. So I worked at Boardwalk for a while. And then from there, I worked for a small, more boutique property management company in London. And that gave me the opportunity to really understand all areas of the business. And, I learned how to do bookkeeping, and I did the rent collections. I did the leasing. I did a little bit of everything. And then I ended up moving to Toronto. And that's where I will equate to really starting my career, because coming to Toronto in residential rental is like coming to the show.
How old were you when you came to Toronto?
I don't know. I was in my early 30s, maybe just 30.
Okay.
I might have even been 29 at the time. And it was really interesting because coming to Toronto from London was always a very soft rental market. So we had, it was unusual in that there was a lot of development happening in London, but there wasn't a lot of demand for the supply outside of the student months. So we really had to work for the deals that we got, and we really had to take care of our buildings. We had to take care of our customers. So I had a different approach to how I was doing things. And when I moved here, it was in the late 90s. Right. And so now everybody knows my age. So when I moved here, it was in the late 90s. And the market, it was at a time where people just didn't move out. And they, you know, if you were renting your unit, you didn't get it painted. You didn't get anything new or flashy. Right. There wasn't all these new beautiful rental developments. It was, you know, it was really about location. And then 9/11 happened, right. And the interest rates dropped, and the condo world got really super hot, and we were experiencing vacancy for the first time in years. And that gave me a differentiator in the market at that time, because I knew how to lease. Yeah. And I knew how to take care of my customers. And that's when the market got really competitive. So, and I remember I was working at a fairly large property management company at the time. And it was really intimidating because, you know, I'm a small town girl from London, Ontario. And it was this giant boardroom table, and we were sitting around the table, and we were having a budget meeting, and they were essentially freaking out. The ownership group was freaking out because they'd never experienced vacancy, and it was at like 3%. And they were going around the table to all the managers and asking them why did we think that they had vacancy. And you know, you girls know me. I'm pretty straightforward. I don't always filter myself as well as I should. They got to me and I said, well, your properties look like shit. And my boss at the time, it was a third-party property manager. My boss at the time was like, oh, she's new. like she's new. But the owner loved it. Yeah. Because I was honest. Yeah. And so that was a turning point for me in my career. And that has really helped me in my career to get to where I am now, and that people want to know the truth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then also, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. That's a great story.
And it was a fun time to come to Toronto and be able to grow, definitely grow. It was a really great opportunity to grow and work for such a big company and in the big city. And that was back before GPS. So I would be, you know, lost all the time with my Pearlies. And
I always think of like MapQuest books, on the passenger side of my car, trying to find my way around the city.
The printed out sheets. Yes. Wow, how things have changed.
Yes, so much. Now you can like determine exactly what time you're going to be somewhere. Like, it's so great. I was thinking about that today because I had to come from pretty far away as well. And it's just like so much easier with the technology we have today.
Yeah, like I traveled Europe with a map.
Yes, right?
And a payphone. Like, my parents didn't know where I was. They couldn't track me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so true. So.
There's some excitement to that. You know, my son will never know that. But so I fell in love with it, and it's never felt like work. Right. And I mean, I've had the fortune of working for some really amazing organizations, and I left, I always say I left the industry, and I went and I worked with the Daniels Corporation. And that was really changing for me. I always joke that when I was at Daniels, my marketing budget was for, at the time, I think we had about 2,500 rental units. My marketing budget was bigger than another company that I went to work with that had over 16,000 suites.
Yeah.
And so I always equate it as like I left the industry, but that's what really gave me the passion for the development to IPP piece, like
Right.
not just, the acquisition side of our business or the gentrifying side of our business, but actually starting with like a piece of land and then being involved in the design of the property,
Yeah.
the suite mix, and how you bring that property to life. And I fell in love with that. But it also gave me really great skills so that when I returned back
Right.
to the industry, I could apply that then to the purpose-built rental market.
Right. And that's where you are today.
That's where I
you
am
find
now.
yourself today.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
it's a really exciting time as well to
Yeah.
be working in that industry, especially given the lack of supply that we have for
Yeah.
rental housing in Canada.
Definitely. And just the time, I think, in the market, like we talk about, I mean, I always say it's like rental 2.0 versus, I guess not, just older stock, but just the way in which buildings are being brought to the market from a leasing perspective is so different right now and just so innovative. So, yeah, we can get into that a little bit later.
Well, everything about it has changed.
Yeah.
And to your point, 30 years ago, you didn't grow up and say, I want to be a property manager. I want to work in property management.
Right.
But now it's a profession. It's a career.
It is.
And it's, something that, kids are coming out of university and they're passionate about real estate and they're passionate about our industry and they want to be in the industry. And to me, it's always been a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you want to do this job? I've never had in over 35 years the same day twice.
Right.
And I get to wear so many different hats that I get to do marketing, I get to do sales, and I get to do customer service, mentorship, the finance side of it. So it's a fun, I consider myself a fairly creative person.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that I get to go to work every day and create.
Totally. Well, what do you think? And I think like what you said, like your love for it, and you can totally tell how passionate you are about it. But for someone that maybe is coming out of university, what would you say are the challenges that maybe you face in the industry in rental or in property management?
I wouldn't label it so much as a challenge. I think the biggest thing is that I think before you enter into any role or any career now, I think it's really important to do your due diligence and really understand what are the attributes that you need to have in order to be successful in that role. With, a lot of the property management world is, the legislation and the financials and the accounting, and but understanding that in residential, you need those soft skills. They're your most valuable attribute, is the soft skills, to be able to have empathy. And so when I'm hiring, I'm looking for people that have empathy. Because again, it's unlike any other business. You're providing people with a home. A home is a sanctuary. And that to me, I have a social responsibility to my tenants. And what I've learned over the years is that if you run your buildings or conduct your role with integrity, with empathy. Housing is a human right. That does transpire to profitability. Right. And so doing right by your residents and caring, genuinely caring about people, that builds your bottom line.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that comes down to your people. And so in property management or residential property management, the most valuable thing that I have is my team. And so, and that's the piece that I love the most. I love the leadership piece. I love connecting with people. And as I've grown in my career, earlier on in my career, I had there were certain people that I connected with more than others, because maybe they were more similar to me. They were more outgoing or extroverted. And so as I've grown in my career, I've had to learn that I needed to adapt my style to whomever I was interacting with. And that's where I say, like, the people skill piece, or understanding that those skills are the most valuable skills in this industry. It's not just for your interactions with your residents, because quite honestly, I don't actually deal with residents that much anymore.
Right.
I do love it when I get to, but I don't often deal with them like I did when I was actually at the property
But you
level.
have that foundational knowledge, like you did do it, so you understand it. So it is like, I feel like you probably never lose that. And I wonder, actually, I was going to say, do you find the people that you hire, is their background in real estate, or is it in something else that is complementary to exactly what you're talking about, having that, like, those people skills?
Like the social work.
Yeah, which is so funny, because I use my social work every day, and it was like during COVID, we really had to use that. And I would say, like, the industry's really changed over post COVID, in that what's important to people now wasn't important to them 7 years ago. It's very important to them now. And that sense of community and that human kindness, because of the mental health issues are so high right now. And it's important that when we're hiring, that we're looking for people with empathy. So it has evolved in that I'd say it's definitely more a profession now. And I think it's because it's paying more. Right?
Yeah.
What we do is very recession proof. That's another really great benefit of rental housing, is people are always going to need a place to live.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's very recession proof. So I think that the industry has had to, because of the new buildings that have come to market, and because of the demand for housing, that means there's a demand for quality people to run the buildings. And so we've been able now, thankfully, companies are paying more, which they've had to. But so it's allowed us to attract better talent to the buildings. So it's definitely evolved. But I'd say that it's more, you can come to me with the best resume or the best education. And of course, that's maybe what got you the interview. But it's going to be the conversation that we have that helps make the decision on whether or not you'd be a good fit to work in a rental building. Again, it also depends on the role.
Yeah.
But I hire for empathy.
Yeah.
That's important to me.
Yeah.
As you've grown throughout your career and you have that social work kind of background, are you able to keep that social aspect with the people that you're managing? Like,
absolutely. I think now it happens more, which is, it's great, because now I can filter it down to more people.
Right.
And so a big part of social work is diffusing conflict, right? Just when you can imagine that in these buildings, that they're essentially small cities, some of these properties that we manage. And so conflict happens. And so with my career, I was able to develop an actual course, a training session on how to diffuse conflict that now, becomes a video that your team members can watch when they're having difficulty diffusing conflict. So absolutely, I use it. I mentioned earlier about COVID. During COVID, it's not a nice story to tell, but I had a property that we managed where in a very short period of time, over a period of 3 months, we had over 20 suicides in the building. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't really understand about residential is our team members, as well as our residents, have to see things that you don't see in an office building, or you don't see if you work in a restaurant, or you don't see if you have a bad experience in a retail store. And nothing equips you for that. You know, you're in a building and there's a murder, or there's, you know, someone that's maybe suffering from some mental health issues. And so absolutely I use my social work. And if it's not on a one-to-one, it's helping my team. And of course, all of the big companies they have employee assistance programs, and there's lots of amazing things that are available. But now that I've elevated my career, I have a seat at the table where I can steer positive change and make sure that not only do we have programs that support our residents and promote mental health and health and well-being, and I also am available to provide that to my team. And so that is what juices me. That's my favorite part of the job, is that, you know, if I can just make a little bit of a difference in someone's life, then that makes me happy.
That sounds very rewarding.
Yeah.
It is 100. That's why I've been in this industry for 35 years.
Yeah.
I've had so many people over the years say, you know, why don't you do office or you know, come over to the contractor side? And no way. I'm never leaving.
I love
You're a lifer.
I'm a lifer.
People. So, and I think I'm a kind of a people pleaser in some sort of, I think you have to be in an industry where you're customer service facing. But yeah, it sounds really rewarding.
I'm a people pleaser and I'm a perfectionist, and the two together, I think, makes me the perfect fit for working in multifamily.
Right.
Because, I mean, we're obviously never going to be perfect, but I like to always be striving for perfection. And who doesn't love perfect, right?
Yeah.
And from the resident piece, it's really just about being generous and being kind. And I have the same attitude in my work that I do in my personal life. Like, I don't say no to my son unless I have to. And so I don't say no to my residents or my team unless I have to. And so and that's worked well for me. So
So maybe going off of that, and you were talking about your creative side earlier, you created the Great Canadian Rental Superstars.
Yeah.
Is that right? Maybe tell us a little bit more about that, because that really does feel like mentorship. That feels like, you know, leaning in and like recognizing talent and bringing that forward. So tell us a little bit more.
So I started on the association side. Years ago, I was the first paid position for the Canadian Federation of Apartment Associations, which is now Rental Housing Canada, of which I'm on the board. So that's a bit full circle for me. And so because I was involved on the association side, I had the opportunity for many, many, many years to go to the National Apartment Association Conference in the U.S. And it was a whole different world. You know, the speakers at these conferences, you know, were presidents and athletes, like Olympians. And so it was an amazing experience. And it's a 3 or 4 day sessions with a giant trade show where you would bring amazing ideas back to Canada. And there was a group that spoke at this conference every year, and I loved it because they would do 60 ideas in 60 minutes, and you could instantly bring it back to your property and implement it. Some of them were a little bit bigger that were a bit more strategy, but they're called the Apartment All-Stars. So I couldn't say Apartment All-Stars because they are trademarked. But I always said for years and years and years, someday I'm going to create a Canadian version of the Apartment All-Stars. And one of the things I loved about them is their energy. You know, you go to you guys have been to these conferences, and we're not people who sit still. So you go from session to session and to session, and it's valuable, but it's also painful when you're somebody that doesn't sit still. The Apartment Superstars, they're so dynamic and such great speakers, but the content was so good, and they just made you feel really good, feel happy when you left. And so who wouldn't want to do that? And so through my association work, we brought some of the superstars to Canada to just do mini presentations. And so when CFAA was reinventing themselves and I started to get more involved again, they asked me to co-chair the sort of the first new conference.
Right.
And I said, on one condition, I want to create the Canadian version. So that's where it came from. But 100%, it's a passion project. It's an opportunity. I hand select the superstars.
Gotta make the cut.
Yeah. But it's also, going to people and saying, I want you to be a superstar. Now it's catching on, right?
Yeah.
So it's 3 years in. And so people are like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I could be a superstar. And I'm like, oh, yes, you can.
You already are.
Yeah, I mean, I've witnessed the superstars myself. It is like high energy. I love the 60 ideas in 60 minutes. Like it is like a shift in conference, I guess, culture a little bit. Energy, yeah. So yeah, definitely probably my favorite part of the CFA for sure. So yeah, it's a great idea. I love that you brought
it. And for me, I love that it's an opportunity for me to play with my creative side and like really have fun with it. And the promo videos is fun because sometimes our jobs we have to do the things we don't love as much. And so I love it. I love it for that.
So do you keep the superstars the same every year? Or do they shift out? It's like selected every year kind of thing?
So it's not a whole new team every year because some people you just want to see more of them.
Yeah.
And then, I also really want to make sure that there's diversity, not just in the supers, but also across the country.
Yeah.
Bringing people from other parts of Canada because they do bring a different perspective.
Absolutely,
Like I always say, like the further west or the further east you go from Toronto, the country just gets a whole lot more chill.
Yeah.
And so like I think it's important to mention, like we do things differently here in Toronto than we do even from a marketing and leasing perspective. Our resident prospects are different depending on where the property is located. So I think that's really important to me is, and also we all want to see new blood, right? Like new people coming into the industry.
Like fresh new ideas as well,
And also giving new people that are passionate about the industry an opportunity to shine and an opportunity to show people what they've got.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Maybe shifting gears a little bit to kind of the market.
Okay.
And so I think everybody knows we're in a pretty soft market at the moment from a condominium perspective or pre-construction perspective. Zonda reported that 12,000 units throughout the GTA are flipping from condo into a rental model. So we're seeing a lot more developers look at the rental model and look to bring that forward. What are your thoughts on that? How do you see that materializing in the market? Typically condo developers now switching gears and heading to the rental platform.
Well, firstly, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, there's such a need for housing in Canada. Maybe not the housing that's being built, but what I've seen is that when these new buildings come to market, it does have a push-up effect, which creates availability for more affordable housing.
Right.
I think it's also excellent because the condo developers that are making that decision to shift from multifamily or from condo, to purpose-built multifamily, they're not your one-and-done condo developer. These are tried, tested, and true professional developers that have been in the game for many, 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 many years. And in order to keep their teams working through a downtime, it's the perfect time to shift to multifamily if they can make the deals paper.
Right. Yeah.
And with Rental Housing Canada, obviously that's something that we work on is, lobbying with the Canadian government to try and make it easier for these buildings to actually get built, to get shovels in the ground. But because of the type of developers that are doing it, they're taking the risk and they're putting the shovels in the ground. And so that, to me, it's going to happen. It may not happen to the extent that Zonda reported. But I think that, if we can make some of these deals paper, then it's good. And as far as I'm concerned, it's really good for me.
Right.
In my industry. I recently wrote an article. It's in Fair Exchange. So you built a multifamily building. Now what do you do?
Right. Yeah.
And so, because there are a lot of differences between condo and multifamily. And so, but ultimately, I think it's amazing. And I think it's going to change the landscape of how developers approach any property or any piece of land. I think it will forever change the Canadian market.
Do you feel like with like some of the shift that we're seeing, do you feel like there's a gap in terms of the different types of product that's coming to market?
Yeah, I do. So it's funny because, a lot of the buildings are amazing. I mean, these properties that have been built over the last, 5 to 10 years have completely changed. But they're great, but it's not necessarily what people want. I mean, at the end of the day, we all just want a safe, clean, well-maintained place to live. At the core, that's what everybody wants. I mean, location obviously is key, regardless of the type of property. Location is key. So I think that there is a gap, but what I think is exciting about that, especially because of, is now. So I'll backtrack a bit. So a few weeks ago, almost a month ago, Rental Housing Canada, we went to Ottawa, the board, to do lobbying. And we met with about 30 different, members of parliament and had the opportunity to sit down and have conversations with them about housing. And what I thought was incredible was the questions that came back from the people that I had the opportunity to meet with. And of course, everybody's committed to getting more housing built. But some of the questions were really around, how do we maintain the existing apartment supply? What sort of programs should we be putting in place that would support you as a property owner, property developer, property manager? What sort of programs should we be putting in place that make it easier for you to put solar panels on the roof, or for you to offer programs to allow a resident to age in place longer? And so that was super exciting to me. And I thought that that really spoke to the fact that there is bit of a disconnect between sort of the apartments that were built, 60 years ago and then the apartments that are coming to market now. I mean, I love them. They are award-winning for a reason. They have these, amazing marketing budgets and resident experience budgets, but all those sort of things do is drive OpEx ratios. And so, which then doesn't really make it financially it doesn't help the deals to paper.
Well, and it's not, I suppose, like, to your point, like, it's not, it might optically seem like it's for everybody, but when it hits your pocketbook, it's not for everybody necessarily.
At the end of the day, you only have so much available to pay your rent, right? And regardless if you make $100,000 a year, or if you make $45,000 a year, there's only so much that you're going to be prepared to pay for rent, right?
Totally.
And so there's definitely been a real shift in terms, I think more people are going to rent than will buy.
I think so.
Going forward, I think we are going, especially in core markets like Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary. I think more people are, I think the day of you have to get a job and buy a house and get married. Like those days have changed.
I think that is what is good about some of this newer stock that's come in, is that it has really shifted that stigma away. There was a stigma in terms of like renting versus owning. And I think that has started to settle. I mean, I think it's maybe still there a little bit, but not nearly to the degree that it has been in the past. And I think that part of that is because there are these buildings you can move into that are essentially, they feel and look almost like condo quality, for lack of better description, because I think they actually live in a class onto their own kind of thing. But it does help to maybe move the mental shift for people. And I think you're right. I think a lot more people are going to be renting in the future.
Yeah. Well, and it's that the young generation now, it's that I want it now. And so they can have it now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's not for everyone.
Yep.
Right. And I think there's a real need to just build quality, purpose-built rental that are well-maintained, well-run, where it's profitable. It's the people that are running it. It's those, to me, it's less about the bells and whistles. I mean, yeah, sure, I'd love to live in a building that had a wine vending machine. I'd be all over that all day long. However, that's not what's going to make me make the decision. And I think what a lot of people have seen over the last few years is they're just not prepared to pay for it. I mean, the cost of everything is going up. Yeah. And sure, it's a nice to have, but it's just not attractive to everyone. And there's again, those higher rents, that's a very small part of the market.
Yeah.
And so it's not the one that speaks to the general population. I don't know if that sounds like a nice way to say it, but I think that it's important that we as responsible landlords, that we maintain our existing properties and we offer elevated services and programming that will benefit residents but not cost them a lot of money. And that comes down to your people, right? Yeah. Hiring good people that want to help and
it's
want
full
to
circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Should we talk about balconies? Just joking. Balconies come up in every single one of our episodes.
Do they? Yeah, it's funny because
I feel like
should you do the balconies or not? Because they're expensive, right? Yeah, they're expensive. Yeah, my theory on balconies is that people don't use them.
Yeah.
But you know what? If someone really wants a balcony, then
that is the decision maker.
That's the decision maker, right?
For sure.
It's the same with in-suite laundry, right? I mean, obviously, you're not going to build a new building now without in-suite laundry. But it's funny, there are some.
I was going to say there are some.
Yeah.
I actually feel like when you tour it, you don't really miss it, and then you go down and see how advanced the laundry rooms are, and I'm almost blown because it has a nice area to sit.
I call that the chill while you chore laundry lounge.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it.
Like you put Wi-Fi in there and a TV and it's a place
machine.
Where you can go and it's actually a place where residents meet and hang out.
And it's so automated. In my mind, I go back to coins and finding quarters and stuff, which again will date me, but it's just so automated now. So
the
it's
machines
pretty impressive.
Bigger, because over Christmas my washing machine broke down, and so I had to wash a ton of sheets and comforters and everything, and towels, and I just took it to the laundromat, and this thing was massive, and I put it in.
It is.
Did some I left it and did some groceries and then came back and I was like, this is amazing actually.
Maybe I don't need a new washing machine. Maybe this is it.
Yeah, so no.
The other thing about laundry rooms is you can get all your laundry done at once.
Right.
You don't have to wait for it to finish, right?
I mean, there's a lot of value.
Sometimes in a small unit, it's one of those combo units or it's a smaller machine and you can get maybe 3 pairs of jeans in it and it takes 3 hours to dry. But so sometimes, but one of the things that we're doing at one of our properties where it's just not feasible to put when we're renovating the suites to put in-suite laundry into all the suites. So we're introducing a laundry service.
Oh,
Whoa.
that's interesting.
Yeah. So we know that residents will pay like $150 for in-suite laundry, like on a chunk rent. But would you pay $150 to have someone pick up your laundry, wash it, fold it, and bring it back to you?
Yes.
I mean,
the
probably.
folding part alone, I
Yeah.
feel like I would definitely.
If they put it away, we're golden. I can charge $200.
That's right. We'd definitely pay extra for that.
I feel like it would be like
Or train my
precision
teenager
folding,
to put his clothes away.
Yeah.
You wait.
That's amazing. So have you? It's like a full service. They'll come once a week.
Yeah.
Or how does that work?
So we're still in sort of the due diligence stage of it, but we're looking at decommissioning a commercial laundry room. This is a property that has more than one laundry space, and shifting it into more of a commercial laundromat, and hiring team to come in, and so the building offers concierge services. It's one of the first buildings in Toronto that had concierge service in multifamily, and it's great. So it's just a way that we can enhance the resident experience. Has a lot of older residents that are choosing to age in place, and so it's a great service that we can offer. We're also offering housekeeping services, and and so they don't have to use it, but it's there if they want to use it.
Yeah,
Amazing.
And then they get preferential pricing. So to me, that's what people want: services more than they want amenities. Amenities are great, but outside of a gym, it really comes down to the service and the people that are running your building.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you love the laundry?
Yeah. I'm like thinking about it now.
I know. I might bring my laundry there.
Yeah, right?
Start a new business?
I'll pay
Laundry
for
service? So in property management, it seems to be more women that are going into it now. And how are the roles of those women changing? Do you agree with that? Like, do you...
Definitely. I mean, our industry is heavier on the female side. More women are in the industry, and I think it's just because we're naturally more empathetic, and because that's such a big part of the role. And I just think women gravitate to it. The other reason is there's flexibility in what we do, and as a working mom, it's a great career to be able to, get out and see your kid's hockey game and then log on. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's a 24/7 job. Mm-hmm. I haven't had a day off in 35 years. But I say that with a smile on my face because that's when you're working in housing, things happen outside of 9 to 5. Yeah. And so we have to be available. Obviously, we're set up so that our staff aren't working 24/7. But so I think women naturally gravitate to the role. And definitely, I'd say to me, the industry has changed a lot over the last 10 years. And I think large in part to do with the fact that there's been a lot of development that's happened in multifamily over the last 10 years. So and a lot of institutional owners that are in the rental housing game now. Whereas before it wasn't that way. Now it's mostly institutional owners. And so that's brought better pay, better benefits. It's attracted, and then it's attracted quality people to the industry. And with part of that, I've seen more women get senior leadership roles or move into senior leadership roles. I'm just trying to think I've worked for a lot of amazing organizations, but it really hasn't been until about the last 10 years that I've started to see females take the C-suite. Yeah.
Great.
I mean, there were some, but one or two. Now there's a lot more.
I was going to say, it feels like anybody coming into the industry now probably has a lot, like any women coming into the industry probably have a lot more women to look to to see a direction for their career versus maybe 10 years ago, like you're saying, like it would have been a different matter altogether.
Absolutely. And I think also we all sort of grew up together, right? I say that because I'm thinking about some of the women that I'm friends with now, that we've worked together, and that company that I was describing around the boardroom table, and remembering like there was like 20 of us around that table, and 20 of them, probably 18 were women.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be an exaggeration, because at the property level, that's where the women were. And like thinking about the women around that table now, 5 of them hold very senior positions.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we grew up together.
Yeah.
And I think that's also paved the way for young women that are entering our industry, because we're going to make it a lot easier for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And create opportunities for them to move up, and not just create, like really do it, like send the email, do the mentoring conversation, introduce them to people, and take them to networking events, to give them that exposure and give them those opportunities. And that's a big part of why I did Superstars, is so that I could help other women grow in their careers. And so to me, I love the industry, obviously. And I think I do feel a social responsibility to help other young women grow in their career and support them, but really support them, not just say it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's so important, especially when you're like first starting out in your career, to find someone to help guide you down that path. I think it's amazing.
I've had 2 very strong female role models, mentors, and I would not be where I am today if it weren't for them.
Yeah.
And it makes me so proud. People go onto your LinkedIn and they make the recommendations, and I love the things that people say. Like, it just makes me feel so proud and happy. But also, seeing women grow. When we were working together, a young woman that worked with us, and she started out as the receptionist in the leasing office. And I just saw on her LinkedIn this week, she was promoted to senior director working at Tricon.
Yeah.
And so I think, that to me makes me feel so good. And I also from a pay equity perspective as well. I mean, what I was earning when I started in the industry, and then seeing what some of these young women are earning when they're coming into the industry, it makes me really happy that they didn't have to go through the pain that I did.
Yeah, right.
to be treated equitably.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
In the vein of mentorship, like if anyone wanted to reach out to you or just grab a coffee or anything, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. I'm active on LinkedIn.
Okay, great.
So that's the best way, is on LinkedIn. And then Great Canadian Apartment Superstars does have an Instagram.
Perfect.
So they can reach out there. Anyway.
That's great. So maybe actually what we'll do is we can put the link for your Instagram handle and your LinkedIn in the bio for this episode. So people can reach you there.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Great. All right. Well, that's our show. Thanks again for listening. If you're looking to listen to more episodes, please feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube or Spotify. We're also on Apple Podcasts, so you can find us there. We've got an Instagram handle, so you can see all the updates and what we're doing and guests that we're going to have on that, which is the real.to podcast. And we're on LinkedIn, so you can find us pretty well everywhere. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.